This is Whit Hertford. I just wanted to check in and say hi and to remember just a little bit of advice. Don't go out there, okay? Just remember that. And bon voyage.
In a world where zombies, ghosts, serial killers, and vampires all exist, it's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin, and they are all that stand between you and the films that could end the world. Welcome to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast. Just want to thank all of our fans and listeners. Really appreciate the support. You guys are awesome. Before we get into tonight's film review, just want to give a quick shout out to our website, don'tgoouthere.com. Everything about our podcast is on the website. All of our episodes and interviews, if you want to check those out. We've done some incredible interviews in the past. Go check them out there in a specific tab by themselves so you don't have to scroll through hundreds of episodes on Apple or Spotify, etc. We also have our store if you want to grab a shirt, a mouse pad, a hat, all that good stuff. We'd love to see your pictures, rep your favorite podcast. And Shan's Etsy page is also attached if you want to grab a tumbler. All of our social media links are on there as well. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Like us, subscribe us, follow us, all that good stuff. And the last thing I want to shout out on our website is our Patreon. We call it Blood Donors. We have the traditional monthly reoccurring kind. If you want to support us, help us pay the bills, as we say. Or if there's a movie you want us to review, that option is available as well. Just check out our website, don'tgoouthere.com. Also, if you haven't noticed, we've recently joined the Believe Network. So there's some ads on our program now. But if you want ad-free content, go check us out on Blood Donors. The ad-free episodes will be available there. We appreciate your support. We hope you enjoy the episode. All right, guys, get into the film review. We're taking on one of Dana Tucker's legendary Blood Donor picks. A movie that I'm a big fan of, to be honest with you. It's one of those 90s crime thrillers that I've had on my list for a good minute. I'm glad Dana picked it. The Bone Collector. I'm a big fan. I remember seeing this as, a young kid. That rat kill just stuck with me forever. Like, that is one of the most horrific ways I think you can die, like helpless, eaten alive by rats. That and what was it? Too Fast, Too Furious where they do that?
Yeah, dude,
it's one of those Fast and Furious movies. I was like, oh God, you can't forget that kind of stuff. Denzel, elite. The whole cast is really good. Like, there's a lot of, decent to big names. You know what I'm saying? Really good cast. I do have some qualms. It's kind of like cliche, shows up right at the end to save him, by the book, but that doesn't take away from, I just think the movie is good, So yeah, I'm a fan of the film. Brian, you want to go next?
Yeah, right off the rip, I said it when we did Kiss the Girls review, don'tgoouthere.com, that I love this movie. I'm a big fan of the 90s crime thrillers. This one's no different for me. It was definitely in that rotation that I used to watch as well, thanks to Seven. It was a plentiful bucket and a very well-done batch, in my opinion, to choose from. In fact, I considered a 90s crime thriller month just for Andrew Ferguson. But, we've about knocked them all out here. My mind played tricks on me, though, I will say. Remembering this, I thought it was Winona Judd and not Angelina Jolie playing the female lead here. And this may be controversial, and I'll get into it. But upon this rewatch, I don't think Jolie was the right choice to play this character. And I'll tell you who I think they should have cast. But overall, great fucking movie all the way around. Going to get a high score from your boy for sure.
Ethan Hawke, right?
Brian, there are just certain parts of me that disagree with your take there. Anyway, what? Like my head, my brain. Come on, brother. Figure it out. I honestly have the exact same feelings about this movie that I do Kiss the Girls. They're not the exact same film, but they're pretty close. And I know that's, all part of they're kind of connected. I understand that. But I mean, they do feel stock is not a negative connotation. Stock, it doesn't mean that it's bad, but it is very 90s crime thriller. TNT after Monday Nitro. That is literally what this feels like. And I do like it. I think Denzel is great. I think that Jolie is great. How many times are we going to have Bobby Cannavale on this show? Or I may have said his name wrong, but you know who I'm talking about.
I think you got it right.
He's going to keep reappearing because he's such a good character actor throughout. He's not as big in this movie. But anyway, there's some good kills. But it kind of just feels like the same movie. Like I can't. Now I will say this one has a little bit more of an influence on pop culture. The way that Lincoln kind of figures out crimes in his head was mimicked on South Park by Cartman. When he just like he puts his hand to his head and says a bunch of random things, fried chicken, donuts, and somehow he comes up with who killed somebody, and like it's basically the same thing. I thought that was really, really fun. But overall, I do think it's good. It's just a little stock. And I think the first, maybe 30, 40 minutes of the movie is very dialogue heavy without anything really happening. And you're going to hear me say that a lot, I guess, because this is just different than like a normal horror movie that we would review. It's almost like a souped up good made for TV movie, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to echo what pretty much all of you have said. It's a good movie. I like it. It's that TNT We Know drama. Feel like I've seen it 100 times because it used to get played a lot, and I'd watch it I'd find myself flip through channels and get stuck on it because I love Denzel. Angelina Jolie, man, I hear what you're saying, Brian, but boy, this is peak Angelina Jolie.
I was going to say, buddy, I got distracted taking notes a couple times.
Strikingly gorgeous.
Yeah, just a beautiful person. Whew.
It was weird, Bobby Cannavale, like you said. I love the guy. It was weird in here that he's the one movie he's not a cop in. He's dating a cop. Like, that's funny. Yeah, I don't think that this movie is anything special, but it's good. Like, it's good across the board. There's nothing blaringly wrong with it. It's just a pretty cookie cutter detective movie, and there's nothing wrong with that. Those movies serve a purpose. They have their place in the world, and this is a good one. So, yeah. I'm glad we're reviewing it.
Yep. Y'all ready to jump into the scene by scene? Let's get it. The film starts with a menacing score with the opening credits. We see crime scenes, skeletons, and title card. Lincoln Rhyme is on a crime scene. He crawls in a tight space to a corpse. Suddenly, he looks up and we see something from above falling. He wakes up in his bed, hooked up to medical equipment, and he's sweating profusely. A couple takes a taxi from the airport and they're asleep on the bridge now. The woman wakes up and is sketched out seeing where they are. The husband wakes up and bangs on the glass asking where they're going. They try to open the doors but can't, and the man has his fingers cut on the lock. The driver ignores them, continuing to drive. Thelma checks on Lincoln, asking if he wants something to drink. Lincoln chats with Richard, who says he needs a new heart monitor. Dr. Barry checks out the bird on the window, and Thelma asks if he wants a drink. Lincoln tells Barry he doesn't want to be a vegetable. He wants to make the final transition on his own terms, and he'll do it with or without his help. Barry agrees to assist him in his final transition. Barry tells him he has a medical conference and won't be back until Sunday. Lincoln tells Barry he's a very good friend as he leaves. Amelia looks incredibly sad drinking her coffee by the window. Amelia's boyfriend wakes up checking on her. The two kiss and she tells him she's got to shower and go to work. She gets into uniform and he tells her about what he wants in the relationship. She tells him she doesn't want a commitment. He tells her to go to work and she leaves. Amelia takes a call and agrees to check it out by the tracks. Amelia is checking the scene out and it begins raining. She sees a little boy and he points towards a hand sticking out of the ground. She begins digging up the rocks and finds the man's face. She tells the boy to wait over there and finds the cut off finger. She gets the train to stop, somehow, and tells him he can't go through due to a homicide. Amelia gives the kid some money and tells him to go get a disposable camera. She takes crime scene photos of the bodies and finds shoe prints. We see the killer lead the woman into Freddy's boiler room and locks her in place. Other cops arrive to investigate, and Amelia fills Detective Pauly in. Captain Howard scolds her for stopping the train. All right, Brian, that's the opening set of scenes. What do you think?
All right, so I got the most on the set of scenes, so bear with me, but Philip Noyce directed this one in 99. Really, the only thing I've seen of his was Sliver, which was, sidebar, this early 90s almost Skinamax type of movie starring Sharon Stone's tits, I believe. And fun fact, we rented this at a sleepover in 4th or 5th grade, I believe. Like, whose parents let us do that? Good Lord, Josh Trahan. Anyway, Noyce is kind of a dickhole about this movie, if I'm being honest. I mean, he said he felt like he was just part of an assembly line of copycat serial killer films after Seven and would never be able to match David Fincher's achievement. Well, not with that attitude, pal. Plus, like most movies based on books, I mean, this one is based on the one that Jeffrey Deaver wrote, and the script is fantastic. Like, it's very fleshed out, very well done. Congratulations, Noyce, you didn't fuck it up. Although Mike called me yesterday and was wondering why he read that you cut Angelina Jolie's nude scene in this. Like, I didn't have an answer for him, but
anyway. That's not true. But now that you tell me, I am very pissed off. Yes. I would have liked to have seen for artistic reasons.
And look, you guys have all said it, but I'll say it as well. Denzel, like, what do you even say about this guy? I mean, by 99, he'd already won an Oscar at this point for Glory, and he was on his way to another one for Training Day 2 years later. He fucking kills this role. And you hear other people who were considered for this role, like we'll get to at the end with the fun facts, but no way anyone does as good of a job as Denzel here. I love the character arc with Lincoln. I mean, when we join him, he's not in a particularly good headspace. And something else, like he's not particularly likable, if we're being honest. And that's something like where when I was younger and I watched this, I wasn't able to connect with him. But now that I'm older, I understand the headspace, the arc, the whole thing with this character, and I appreciate it so damn much. Now, listen, I said this before and I'll say it again. Like, I am able to relate to Lincoln so much more now that I'm older. And like I've said, being in a vegetative state is my worst fear. So knowing it's just a matter of time before one of those seizures puts me in that state, I'm sorry. I'm 100% with Lincoln on his approach here. Like, it makes me relate so much more to this character and stuff that, I wasn't really able to before. Now, this is why I said at the start, I think Angelina is a little bit miscast for this. I just don't buy her character. Like, she's supposed to be this rough around the edges New Yorker. And like, look at Gone in 60 Seconds. Angelina Jolie plays a fantastic tomboy, rough around the edges, sexy bitch in that movie, and it works. But this one, I just don't buy her quote unquote toughness. Like, give me someone like Eliza Dushku or Dina Meyer. I think they nail this role in a way that Jolie just doesn't for me. But anyway, regardless, great written character. Don't get me wrong, but that's just my opinion. And I think Ed O'Neill, fantastically cast. Same for Michael Rooker. Rooker is that slimy, jealous asshole role that he's played so many times down so well. And I love the history between all of these people like Lincoln and it's just hinted at, but never really shown, and doesn't have to be. It gives so much depth and history to these characters without having to show us anything. Should we keep Cheney in the loop? Fuck him. I love it. I love that line. You can tell there's a respect for Lincoln from these guys that Cheney has never been able to accomplish as a captain, and they never have to show us that. Fantastic open. A lot going on, though.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the acting work of Denzel. It's the first thing I start with, where Denzel Washington does a great job of never, in my opinion, maybe someone listening completely disagrees, maybe one of you two, never does he never sticks out as this is Denzel. Like, to me, he does a really good job of adapting to whatever character he's playing. And, you have some character actor or some actors that's like, that's a name your actor movie. And I don't even think that qualifies for Denzel. I mean, it's kind of weird to think about this being done around the same time as Remember the Titans, two completely different characters that Denzel is playing, and yet he absolutely nails them both. I think he's phenomenal in this film. Kind of makes the movie, for me personally, as far as keeping my interest the whole time. New York City looks like a fucking nightmare, man. Like, no offense to any listeners we have that live there, but wouldn't be my cup of tea. It was really, I'm not going to lie, it's still weird to see that skyline with the Twin Towers in the back. It's a brief shot, but it is there, and you're like, oh, shit, that was the real New York skyline for a little bit there. A lot of dialogue, obviously, and that's why even with, and I said it, Kiss the Girls, some of this stuff you have to go watch. I mean, obviously Nico reads the scene by scene, and Brian touched on the thematic parts, but I do think there's just a lot of dialogue I really like, and she has a small role in this movie for the most part, but this is kind of like Queen Latifah getting her foot in the door as far as acting goes, and I actually think she's underrated. There's a few movies I think that she does a really good job in, and I love her and Denzel's kind of back and forth here in this set and the next set of scenes as well. 1999 Angelina Jolie, I mean, Dustin already mentioned it. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say it. And we're gonna get a comment on iTunes, and I can't wait, buddy, or Apple Podcast. Angelina Jolie, call me sometime. What? Last second. Al fucking Bundy, baby. Ed O'Neill. Let's go, son. Last thing. This movie is so similar to Kiss the Girls. From the very beginning, I'm just like, God damn, I feel like we just did this movie. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I really, really don't. I just saying. Anyway, that's all I had.
Yeah, the opening credits are well done, very dramatic, and they show just enough to set the tone for what the movie has in store. Very 90s-like. Then a curveball right off the bat. Never expected Denzel to almost die like 3.5 minutes into the movie. Good storyline with the cab driver kidnapping the couple and, using that device to commit the crimes. Nothing groundbreaking, but it was solid. Tough scene when Lincoln has the doctor or talks the doctor into assisting with his euthanasia. Whew, that's rough. Get a good introduction to Amelia and Steve. Didn't drag it out. Gave us plenty. Well done there. And then a great scene with Amelia finding the buried body by the tracks and the rest of the crime scene. Actually, let me back up a little bit. It's a good little introduction to Amelia and Steve, but it didn't go anywhere. Like, she wasn't battling her personal life and him the rest of the movie. It was just kind of like a 2-minute filler scene. I don't know. Really random and great overhead shot of New York City while it's raining. That was awesome. Like, none of the cinematography in this movie holds a candle to that, except for one little transition we get later in the movie. But that was fucking awesome. Overhead shot of the city with the rain pouring down. And then what a cast for the police force. Not only do we have Denzel and Angelina Jolie, but also, like you guys mentioned, Ed Bundy and Merle Dixon. Hell yeah. It's a decent enough open. I'm invested.
Back to Lincoln, who's playing chess as Polly and Kenny stop by to ask him about the couple from the airport. Lincoln thinks it's an open and closed case, a ransom. Lincoln begins to have a seizure and Thelma runs back in the room. She kicks the cops out and nurses Lincoln back to health. Lincoln is awake and asks Thelma to basically let him die. He asks Thelma to load the crime scene photos onto the monitor. He zooms in on the piece of paper asking her what the number is and asks the date. He calls Polly, figuring the page number meant the date. We're in class with Amelia being taught about drugs kids will most likely face in school. Kenny enters the class asking for Amelia. He asks if she knows Lincoln and takes her to his apartment. Lincoln compliments her pictures and they talk about his book. He says she has a natural instinct for forensics. Lincoln says the crime scene was staged. He tells Polly the wife is alive and will be killed at 4 p.m. Lincoln tells Amelia he wants her to work with him. She tells him it's truly pathetic using his condition to force her to help them. Damn. Polly uses authority to make her help them. Lincoln tells her to pull up a chair and he wants to pick her brain. The killer is still at the crime scene and a timer goes off. Kenny tells Lincoln about the bullet fired in the metal of the bolt. Lincoln tells Amelia to find out if any asbestos cleanings are going on in town. Captain arrives to the apartment as a lot of police work continues. Captain Chaney wants to always be kept in the loop as Eddie puts the piece of old paper onto the monitor. Lincoln has Eddie check the sand out now. He says it's shells, and Lincoln says, oyster shells perhaps? And Eddie confirms. Amelia finds the asbestos jobs. Lincoln locks in mentally and brings up Talbot Psalms in 1913. He says Miss Rubin will be underground somewhere in the Wentworth building. Lincoln sends Polly, Kenny, and Amelia, telling her to follow her instincts and Eddie to stay back with him to figure the bolt out. All right, Bryson, next set of scenes, what'd you think?
Okay, so I guess we can talk about spoilers since we're reviewing it here, but something I do love that I wanted to point out, because at this point, by 1999, we were conditioned to be trying to figure out who the killer was the entire movie. I guess we are still to a degree in 2024, but what I love about this, you expect it to be Rooker's character. And, they know that. They even put Rooker in as the masked killer in several of these scenes to throw you off. And I think that's fantastic. I mean, especially given the reveal. And I got to get my shit in real quick. Olivia Birkeland plays Lindsay Rubin, who is steamed to death here. Also played in Star Trek Voyager. Not sorry. I also fucking love Louis Guzman as well. Just everything he's in. And the rest of this is just some solving case stuff. I mean, great stuff to watch. Some great shots in this, but it's hard to take notes. Some of the great shots, especially when Lincoln is solving some of this and the close-ups of his eyes, computer screens, fantastic cinematography there, but that's all I had.
Now listen, this guy's here is playing chess. We haven't had a movie where we've had a lot of chess involved. So I'm about to go on a small tangent where I think checkers is actually better than chess. That's all I'm saying. What's more fun to play on the back porch, brother? What's more fun to go sit outside a Cracker Barrel and play?
Dominoes.
Well, now, I agree with you there. I agree with you there, brother.
Chess, I don't want to take this approach. But chess is just a thinking man's game, brother.
That's right. I don't want to think. I just want to play. Hey, Dustin, play don't care who makes it.
That is
play
true.
Don't care who makes it.
I
bro.
love chess, though. Anyway, go ahead.
I don't hate chess. I would just rather play checkers, personally. All right. And again, I mentioned the back and forth with Latifah and Denzel. I think it does good for adding some grounded character work to Lincoln. Hey, buddy, opening up a suitcase full of drugs. All right. Looks like a goody treasure chest to me. Sign me up. Oh, sorry. My bad, brother. Anyway. Now, as Denzel's kind of running through all this in his head, he comes to the conclusion that the crime scene is staged. And that's literally, not to downplay his character, but that's the first thing I saw when I saw this picture of what was there. I was like, that looks staged as shit, brother. So it's not, he came to the same conclusion I did. They should hire me to be in charge of this case. I would say the majority of these scenes, there was good detective work being done, but I was distracted by Angelina Jolie's eyes, not going to lie to you. They kept zooming in on her face, and that's not my fault that they left me distracted. That's the filmmaker's fault, and I can't help that. There's nothing I can do. You mentioned Luis Guzman. I love him in everything he's in that I've seen as well. He's a funny guy, and I think he actually adds a little bit of off-the-wall humor that the movie needs to kind of level itself out a little bit. And yeah, I mean, it's just very hard to take notes on, but it's good case-solving detective work back and forth between all the characters for sure.
Yeah, I like how Lincoln's character is written. Shows that he's a top-notch detective and still has a brilliant mind despite being paralyzed. And a seizure was a nice touch to keep the severity of his situation at the forefront of our minds. This movie is a bit on the slow side, at least from a note-taking standpoint. A lot of these scenes are very well done, but they're just standard crime drama scenes to me. Like, nothing stands out in the dialogue, the cinematography, nothing. I mean, they're well acted, but even the acting, I wouldn't say is, he killed it in this scene. Mike, you said that her eyes are distracting. Funny enough, what Brian mentioned about the nude scenes being cut, that's the reason, is because they felt that they were distracting from the story. So he was right.
He does say, brother, he would have got me. He would have had me in a chokehold, brother.
I do like the dynamic between Amelia and Lincoln. Like, her not wanting to take the job is a nice, unexpected touch, because you expect the younger cop who, is up and coming in her career to want to jump on the chance to work with such an esteemed detective. So I like that she was hesitant, and him pushing her and believing in her, that's great as well. He saw something and knew that she could do the job. One thing that stands out in this movie, especially anytime they're in the room in Lincoln's house, is how 90s it is. The technology, obviously, but then also some of the dialogue, when Eddie said chill pill. Has anyone said the phrase chill pill in the past 20 years? I haven't. But Brian probably has, because he's a dad. But you mentioned Luis Guzman also. I'm not going to let a whole episode go by without plugging probably my favorite performance of his, Anger Management. My God, he's hilarious in that movie with Adam Sandler and Jack Nicholson. But anyway, I just threw that in because I don't have a whole lot of notes. We're progressing.
I love his scene in Yes Man too, when he's going to jump, but Jim Carrey sings the "Wish You Would." I love that scene too. Shout out to Guzman. All right, the three are on the elevator, and Paulie notes there's 25 minutes left. Paulie tells Amelia how Lincoln got hurt and how he's still active duty. Paulie jokes if she was any more wound up, she'd be a Timex. The three weave through traffic heading to the Wentworth building. The killer is loosening a bolt as Eddie tells Lincoln the meaning of NSG, Niagara Steam Generation. Bolts are used for steam pipe assemblies. The killer pushes the steam pipe right in front of the woman's face as Lincoln tells him she'll be at Wall in Nassau. Police descend into the sewer, and Lincoln tells Amelia to get set up for a crime scene. Amelia says she hears the woman crying in there. Miss Rubin shakes her cuffs as Paulie says they're on the way in. They discover it's impossible to turn the steam off. They hear a woman scream, and steam bursts into the streets. Lincoln radios for Paulie, and he's told she's dead. Lincoln wants Amelia to go in first once the wall is knocked down. Lincoln tells her he's with her every step as she enters the crime scene. She tells him everything's been boiled to hell and it smells awful. He continues coaching her as she says there are no footprints. She finds the corpse and tells Lincoln what happened. Amelia trembles, seeing the steamed body, saying she can't do this. Lincoln encourages her every step and has her look at the floor, wall, and ceilings. Amelia says she found a piece of wood, small piece of hair, and a bloody bone. She collects the evidence, and Lincoln asks her to describe the restraints. Old shackles, chain across waist, rope around her feet, chunk of flesh missing from her forearm, surgically removed. He tells her they need the handcuffs and get the small saw out the suitcase. She must cut her hands off at the wrist to retrieve them. Amelia says she can't do it and panics, refusing to do so. I mean, Jesus Christ, man. The girl's new. Why would you ask her to do that? She exits the room saying Lincoln can do it himself. Lincoln calls her name repeatedly to no answer. All right, Bryson, next set of scenes, what do you think?
He actually cannot do it himself, asshole. God, what a rude woman.
All right, so I think Dustin will be the only one that gets this, but you know what this whole thing reminds me of is the Oracle on Batman. Like, I got a crippled Barbara Gordon communicating like this and helping guide Batman. I don't know. Sorry, I'm nerd shit.
Yeah.
But also, this is pure ineptitude by this entire police department on not getting to this victim in time. Are you fucking kidding me? There seemed to be like no hurry up at all there, reminding me of watching a Jimbo Fisher hurry up offense in action. I mean, this old ass fucking wall had holes in it. I mean, I personally watched Marty McFly break apart one of these same kind of walls to uncover the DeLorean in like 30 seconds. So Detective Ed O'Neill needs to go back to being a shoe salesman because he's not cutting it as a detective here. There's a lot. Shout outs there. Anyway, this is part of my issue with Amelia. I mean, her breaking down at the side of Mrs. Rubin. She just doesn't seem like she's cut out for even being a cop, much less a crime scene investigator. I mean, damn, she's smart. But she breaks down and cries and has like PTSD about her dead dad every time she sees anything like this throughout this movie. That shit ain't gonna cut it here, Laura Croft. There's another one.
Look, I think the woman that's captured here does a good job of showing the fear, but it feels, and we kind of talked about it, there's a lack of gore, a lack of like actual violence in the film. It just kind of feels like like I said, that TNT as soon as Tony Schiavone reads his last line going off the air, this is the movie that comes on. And it makes me think of that because we're not getting, and I know there's the rat kill, but like outside of that, there's really just not much to see here. And so I thought that would have been a good time to actually show something. I think the shots using steam are pretty cool though. And they do it a couple times. I think it looks pretty cool. And so are these shots of Angelina Jolie down here in these tunnels and sewer systems and stuff. He makes a great point here. As far as Lincoln does, this would be tough, and this would be tough if you were a new cop on the scene to kind of go down here and see all this stuff if you were new to be exposed. But you do have a job to do, and I can't imagine being this like rookie detective, and here's this person with their fucking forearms and wrists split open. Like that would be a horrifying thing. And he's pretty tough on her, but I don't think it's anything like over the top. And I do think I know she's new, but like. She wasn't trained to collect evidence ever, like during her whole time period. I know she, is kind of a rookie, but I found that interesting. I do think the effects on the skin look pretty good. It's just a little bit of the Hollywood gloss that I'm not a fan of. I actually think this scene is probably Jolie's best acting in the movie. She does a great job of showing that battle within herself of like wanting to do this and not being able to do this, and I think it's good that we get a look into her backstory here as a character for Amelia. I'm just glad we're finally getting some moving pieces here for sure.
All right, so shouts out to Polly for having the Tag Heuer. How do you say that? Anyway, Curium watch with the Mercedes-Benz hands. That was very strategic product placement there. I saw it, I paused it, I went back, looked at the watch. Because I was like, damn, that's a Benz watch. Anyway, I like how it was shot when he did whatever he did to the woman being held captive in the boiler room. We couldn't see, but her muffled scream let us know it was bad. But I'm not buying that Amelia heard Mrs. Rubin crying and no one else did. Like there were other guys closer to where the sound was coming from and no one heard it. She's like, wait a minute, and walks past like 4 people. I think I hear something. Fuck out of my face with that. Wish we would have got a more clear look at Mrs. Rubin's body. Like they showed it multiple times before it was clear what we were seeing. Like lighting made it difficult. I couldn't make out what I was looking at until it was very clear. So that was a little bit of a miss for me. Amelia at the crime scene was solid stuff. Jolie did a great job at portraying the emotions of that job and her reluctancy. And we see what happened to Mrs. Rubin's forearm earlier. So to me, it was a great choice not to show us what he was doing to her body while she was alive, because it made it more shocking when we saw the big chunk of flesh missing. But yeah, I just don't have a lot of notes other than that. It's a fine movie though.
No, I get it.
I just feel like when I don't say a lot, like you might interpret that as, oh, he hates this. He didn't take a lot. This is a hard as fuck movie to take notes on.
Dude, I loved San Junipero, but had very little to say towards the end, so I get it for sure. Yeah. Amelia is dropped off in a taxi as someone in another taxi watches her. She's crying, washing her hands, breaking down. She gets a phone call but hangs up, leaving the phone off the hook. Lincoln researches on Amelia, finding out about her father's death as a cop. Knock at the door at Amelia's, but no one is there. She walks the halls not seeing anyone. Back in her apartment, and she grabs her gun hearing noises. It's Kenny outside her window saying Lincoln's been trying to call her for hours. She says she doesn't want to work for him. He believes there's another victim at play. Kenny compliments her work today, calling her terrific. We're at a bar now as a bartender leaves work, catching a cab. Eddie says the bone and hair aren't human. Amelia arrives to Lincoln's. He compliments her work and halfway apologizes to her for the sawing the hands thing. He brings up her arrest record, asking why she wants to chase youth offenders. Lincoln tells her destiny is what you make it. Whatever happened to your father doesn't mean it will happen to you. You have a gift. Don't throw it away. She tears up as Kenny tells him about an NYU student being abducted. Amelia asks about the evidence being deadlined. The taxi with the killer stops in an old abandoned building, pulling the next victim out the trunk. The victim is handcuffed to a pipe, and he's stabbed and cut with a knife. Eddie tells Lincoln the bone was an old veal bone. Richard arrives to work on the medical equipment, and Amelia believes it may be a cop. Eddie says the hair was shaved off and is from a rat. Lincoln has him look for slaughterhouses from turn of the century. The victim sees rats crawling all around him, as he continues to bleed out. A rat crawls right to his face and lunges towards him. Lincoln's blood pressure is sky high and is stressing over the evidence. Thelma warns him he needs to slow down as Amelia names off the slaughterhouses from around town. She tells him when they all close, and he cries from frustration with his body. He sends Amelia to help them. All right, Brian, that's the next set of scenes. What do you think?
Okay, so Amelia got dropped off by a taxi at her place, and then hold up, did the killer drop her off in a taxi at her place? Because, did I miss something here? That's the killer's little rear view mirror hanging dongle thing, isn't it? Or is it just showing him happened to be like stalking her, but she just got dropped off in a taxi, right? So
that's how I took it. I took it that she was in a different taxi. He was just scoping the scene.
All right. And listen, I know it's just to make Detective Solomon a red herring. I know that. Because there's literally no logical reason for him to be trying to just walk into her apartment and then trying to climb in an open window.
Thank you.
You know how fucking crazy that sounds? Look, script doctor, just have them had a previous relationship. Then this you could at least explain away. Otherwise, there's no way someone is doing this, and it's just too obvious, in my opinion, to make him a red herring or the killer. And then he says, what you did today was pretty damn terrific. What did she do? Poorly do her job? So, yeah, I wasn't a big fan of that, if you hadn't noticed. I also wonder if this is, where that nude scene was supposed to go of Angelina and got cut, because you can totally kind of see this leading to them fucking. But again, that would make sense because, he would say that just to try to butter her up too. So I don't know. I just work here. Just last thing, just some amazing fucking acting from Denzel here in this set of scenes with his body breaking down, not cooperating and fighting with him, fighting those seizures. You can see the tears like running down his face. Man is just an incredible fucking actor.
Yeah, finding out her reasoning or why she is a cop, I thought adds a nice, interesting twist to the story, layered background work. It's fine. It's not like my favorite thing ever, but it's okay. Both of these movies, and I mean both of these by also Kiss the Girls, have really weird out-of-place club scenes. Like, why? I know it's the 90s, but why the fuck are we in these clubs, man? Anyway, I do like the line where Angelina Jolie calls him a piece of work, and he says, well, aren't we a pair? That's fun. I'm going to use that on my wife. Also, Denzel has not-so-great parents in this movie and Remember the Titans. How many kids did he have, Nico?
12 brothers and sisters.
Yeah. 12
You
sounds
had
better.
12 brothers and sisters?
Yeah.
7.
12. 7. Yeah.
12 sounds better.
12 sounds better. That's right. I do think that the relationship here between Amelia and Lincoln is kind of the backbone of the film. Their back and forth is what makes the movie continue my interest. It just dawned on me, though, while watching this, having spent like 3 weeks in a hospital room a couple months ago, that they just set up a makeshift forensic lab in the corner. What the fuck is this, man? Not in the post-COVID world would never happen. That's all I'm going to say about that. The good people at the Port Orange Hospital were great. Fuck mice and rats. Shout out to my brother Dustin on this. I know we agree. I know brother Nico agree. Fuck those little. I don't care how cute you think they are. No, thank you. My man Denzel was fucking sweating here, son. I really love this scene. It is probably the best acting in the film. Denzel is great. That brief moment he breaks through that smart ass tough guy front that he puts on, where he's sweating, he's crying, he's really worked up. I think it's a great scene.
All right. Can't lie. Amelia taking a cab was worrisome to me the first time that I saw the movie because, we saw that the killer's MO is cab driver. Like you said, Brian, it was a little confusing how they shot that. But I did take it as she was just in a separate cab. He was scoping the scene maybe. Then Jolie continued to do a great job showing the toll the job is taking on her. I think she killed this role. So I do disagree with what you said earlier, Brian, but different strokes. We can have different opinions. Pretty tense scene at her place, but wasn't the best. Why would Buddy be outside her window, like you said? And then the knocking at the door. So if it was him that knocked at the door, why would he walk? He didn't even give her time to open the door. I hated that as well. Like, it made no sense. Good stuff between Amelia and Lincoln and getting more of her backstory there. So, it's given us these little crumbs as to why she's reluctant to take this case and work on it like that. They do a good job concealing the abductor's identity in the shots. Never gave us a look at him due to camera work and wardrobe. They want to throw us off, and they did a good job at that. Like I said, really hard to take notes on because it's pretty standard crime drama stuff, but it is solid.
Polly and company make it to the first slaughterhouse. They look around and Lincoln wants Amelia to go first, but Polly has a bad feeling. She describes the place and confirms it's a slaughterhouse, saying it smells like manure, no pun intended. VSU arrives, but they're stopped by Polly. Amelia is stressed out. She hates this shit. That's where my no pun intended joke was supposed to be, damn it. She finds the victim who is covered in rats. Fucking horrific. Amelia shoots a rat and the rest scatter and the police run to her. She confirms to Lincoln they never had a shot. She details the victim's corpse and cause of death. Amelia takes authority and has everyone back out so she can walk the grid. Amelia finds another piece of old paper and a matchbox. Captain arrives furious that the press is there. He says he's taking over. Fuck Murphy and Rhyme, he says. He and Amelia have words and tells her to come with him. They find a print on the matchbox. Back at Lincoln's and all the police boards and equipment are being removed. Lincoln has Eddie research if there has been any homicide the past 12 months involving surgically removed flesh exposing bone. Eddie leaves joking around with Thelma. They get a positive ID on the print. They've got him, Captain says as they head out. They break into a room finding a body under a taxi. The man is dead, missing his fingertip. Amelia is back at Lincoln's place as they both enjoy the captain's blunder. Lincoln is struggling with the puzzle until Amelia brings another piece of the paper. She puts the paper to his nose and they both think it's possibly kerosene. Eddie's evidence for the flesh-exposed victims is delivered and they look it over. Lincoln begins having a seizure and Thelma rushes in to help him. Thelma tells Amelia about wanting to self-terminate. He fears being a vegetable more than anything. Cheney is outside and Thelma tries to keep him out, but he's persistent. Cheney tells Thelma he believes stolen evidence is here, but she tells him he can't enter without a warrant. He leaves pissed, saying he will be back with one. We see a grandpa and granddaughter get into a taxi from the airport. A cop follows them, turning the lights on. The driver grabs a cop and shoots him and speeds away. The little girl screams in fear. All right, Brian, so next set of scenes, what do you think?
Okay, so we get to the slaughterhouse, and first of all, to Martin Williams and the whole special effects team, to the makeup department, just slow golf clap, because these bodies, they look gross. Like, fantastic job with that. But, Amelia just shoots a fucking rat? Like, you can't do that. Like, an asshole thing to do anyway, with everyone worried about you and waiting for you, and then you discharge your weapon and just sit down. You don't tell anyone it was just you shooting at a rat. Then tell everyone to fuck off while you walk the grid? What an asshole. Plus, you got to fill out paperwork every time you discharge your weapon, man. 1999 must have been a different time, let me tell you. But then we have Amelia stealing evidence and faces no repercussions. I mean, I understand in movies when officers do stuff like that because it turns out their supervisor's the one who did something wrong and they take him down with it. But yeah, I mean, that's not really the case here. And so I'm just not a big fan of this part. Like that, and then they kind of all just cooperate again later. Like, I don't know. No, just have her take a fucking picture or scan it or something anyway and send it to Lincoln, because that's what he does with it anyway. To figure out the puzzle on the screen, he just scans it in. You don't need to steal the evidence, and that way you didn't literally leave with the physical evidence. And Jesus, I don't know. Anyway, go ahead. That's all I had, Mike.
Yeah, I don't have a ton either, but I did have a little bit of note about what you said in here, Brian. To me, it's just her kind of showing her rookie cop stuff, in my opinion, personally. And I don't think it's a bad thing, but you're right. There is like this, I can't just steal shit, just firing your weapon in the middle of nowhere, which, by the way, Angelina firing a gun. And anyway, I'm going to stop. I was just say, I've seen the movie Wanted, brother. You know, anyway, I'm sorry. I don't have a lot here either. I do think the use of the slaughterhouse is really cool. I think that makes for a really cool, like, crescendo place for a true crime movie or a horror movie or whatever. I think it does. It adds something to it that I can't remember another film that has one anyway. They do pick up the tension a little bit here. There's, the little girl crying, and they kind of pick up the score here a little bit, and I like that. But again, just kind of some more detective work. It's good. It's just not super easy to take notes on it. Whoever's listening, Dana, it doesn't mean we're incapable of doing it. It's just it is difficult to when everything's just like figuring it out as police work. Like if I listen to a true crime podcast and it's police interrogation videos back and forth, audio only, I can't take notes on that. Like all I can do is listen for myself. So that's kind of how I felt while watching this movie. But it's still really good stuff and has my attention for sure.
Yeah, good tension when Amelia is navigating the slaughterhouse, and disgusting as fuck when the victim is covered in rats. Worst part of the whole movie. Good shit with Amelia telling the others to back off so she can walk the grid. Great character growth there. She's went from timid and didn't want to do it to now she's taking charge and owning it. Love that. The fake out with the fingerprint and the taxi driver suspect, that was a great addition to the story. Like, we had a feeling that it wasn't going to be the killer, but it's a nice way to buy some time and lengthen the movie a little bit. Awkward moment when Lincoln and Amelia and their little flirting ordeal, like completely unnecessary. Why was that storyline even added? I don't know. Didn't make sense. Hell of a jump scare with his next seizure there. That shit was crazy. I don't really like Chaney's character direction. Like, there's no real need for him to be a dick to Amelia and then threaten Thelma. Like, we could have got where we needed to go without that stuff. I get they're trying to give us a little red herring with him, but it didn't work for me. Any of the other cops is more believable because they were kind of shisty acting, kind of suspicious, not really speaking up a lot. Him being overtly assholish was off-putting for me. When the cop gets shot in the cab, this is what I was talking about earlier. I love the transition back to Link's place. Like that zoom out all the way back into the room was a great way to show us where it happened and take us back to where we needed to be next. So that shot and that transition and the overhead raining shot that we got of the city earlier, that's my two favorite parts of the movie just from a movie making standpoint. Absolutely gorgeous. So, yeah, that's all I got.
Amelia wakes up bedside wiping Lincoln's brow. She touches his scars in his hand. He tells her there are laws for molesting the handicapped, and I gotta admit, I chuckled. They joke, and he asks about seeing his seizure. He doesn't want to discuss determination, and she brings up the destiny line. The phone rings, and it's Polly. He tells him about the cab inspector being killed and the old man and little girl. They examine the evidence again, and he asks Thelma to help. She's good with puzzles. The paper has a woman's face. It's an old turn-of-the-century logo. Gothic stories. Crime stories. The killer is pointing to an old book. Amelia is at the library looking for said book. Amelia knocks several books onto the floor. She picks up one called The Bone Collector. She skims through the book, seeing pictures of all the murders matching their crimes. Helicopters are at the Brooklyn Bridge looking for the two victims. Lincoln tells him to look at the pilings by the refueling station. Amelia finds the two tied to a pole in the water. She jumps in to help the two breathe and stay above water. More help arrives and they get the two free, getting them out. The old man is gone and died, but the little girl is still alive. He tells Amelia to look around the fuel tanks for the clues. Captain arrives on the scene and Amelia finds the clues. A map, chunk of bone, and a piece of a cop badge. They discuss the map, and she grabs the evidence as Chaney takes the radio from Amelia. He tells Lincoln he's not a cop anymore and wants Amelia locked up, but she's gone now. She's in the Navy Street tunnel and finds footprints. The coverage of their call drops. She keeps looking around, seeing chains swaying and train passes by, shaking the place. She notices the numbers on the train have been changed, 78499. She remembers seeing that number in Lincoln's room on his badge. He's going to kill Rhyme, she says. All right, Brian, that's the next set of scenes. What do you think?
Okay, so we get a director cameo with Noyce being that bum-looking guy browsing through the books while Amelia is at the library at around an hour, 31 minutes. Nice of you to put yourself in the movie you said you didn't want to accept in the first place, dickbag. And can I say, thank God that she was able to rescue that little girl, because Good Lord. Seven would have filleted her and served her as a steak at 1 a.m. in the morning just as a sin. I don't know. By the way, Xana Gray is the name of that little girl who just screamed on camera the whole time. She actually grew up to play Gina McClain on the Scream TV series, which, sidebar, I never gave a chance because of that mask. It was terrible. Is that petty of me? Probably. This was our very first credit part, though. She also was in Summer Catch with Freddie Prinze and Jessica Biel. Goddamn, I love that movie too. Dustin owns the DVD. Some great underground shots here to round out this set of scenes. Not too dark, and at no time could you tell there was obviously lights around it. It's just simply looked good. Good job, Noise.
Raise your hand if you've seen a library scene in a detective film before. Fucking every goddamn one, man. I was like, you got to be shitting me, man. It's in this one, too. You mentioned some of the camera work here. I do think there's some great shots. Like I said, the movie, or I meant to say it earlier, does a good job of remaining dark. Like, even in the lighter scenes, like I feel like it has this dark hue to it, and I think it's really good. And again, you're getting to see this furthering, developing relationship-ish friendship thing between Lincoln and Amelia, and I think it's good. Obviously, they've become friends, for lack of a better term. The way Amelia kind of is worried for him and everything, I think it's fine. But to me, this set of scenes is kind of known for more of Lincoln thinking of clues in the way that he does with the pictures, the words, fast, boom, 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 boom. And like I kind of quoted the Cartman version of that earlier, that's all I could think of now. Like, it's not Denzel's fault. It's great. But every time he has one of his moments where he's deciphering stuff, I think of Eric Cartman thinking of fried chicken, donuts, Miss Molly at the mall, lollipops. He killed her. And that's what I keep thinking back to. So, fine set of scenes. I am kind of ready to get to the end, not because it's bad, but because it is difficult to take notes on and all that. So, yeah.
Yeah, again, I just don't care for the love interest storyline. Like, it's so unnecessary.
Absolutely agree.
It doesn't make sense. And like I said earlier, she has a boyfriend that we just completely swept under the rug. You never hear from him again. So what was the point in that? I don't know. I just feel like they were like, we're short on the love angle quota here. Let's throw these two things in there. Hopefully one of them hits. Pretty cool watching the three of them piece the puzzle pieces together, though. Like, I enjoyed that scene. Great score when Amelia is looking through the books and they go searching for the next crime scene. It just feels right. I hate the shit from Chaney here, too. We don't need his character to be so against Lincoln and Amelia and then threaten to lock her up. Like, it takes away from the twist to me, honestly, because I already know it's not him. So, I don't know. I like the montage as she's trying to figure out what 78499 means. Really cool transitions, and like we can see what pops into her head. I like that. That was awesome. But yeah, I'm ready for the ending.
Yep, here it is. Captain gets out of the cop car and goes to Lincoln's apartment. Doorbell rings, and it's who we find out to be Richard, who stabs Thelma in the gut. We see Captain dead, I assume, on the floor. Lincoln asks where's Thelma, and the phone rings. Richard unplugs the bed and wants to set the record straight. He brings up Syracuse, Marcus Andrews. Richard says his work was impeccable and his report destroyed his life. He tells Lincoln about being brutalized in prison for 6 years. He breaks Lincoln's fingers and harasses him, saying he failed those people. He messed with his machine, asking what kind of vegetable he'd like to be. Lincoln shuts the bed, smashing Richard's hand. Richard pulls him off the bed onto the floor. He crawls over to him with a scalpel, threatening to cut his tongue and eyes. Lincoln whispers, distracting Richard, and he leans in closer. Lincoln bites his neck, and Richard gets free. He grabs a knife to kill Lincoln, but is shot and killed by Amelia just in time. She runs to him, checking on him, and he's not responsive. Barry tells Lincoln he loves the view. Amelia puts presents under the tree as Eddie, dressed as Santa, and others join them. Lincoln's sister from Arizona arrives, and he's thrilled seeing them. He introduces Amelia to them, but they've already met on the phone. She tells him Merry Christmas and holds his hand. They smile at each other as the film ends. Are they together, or is that just like we're good partners and we care about each other? I really didn't know, and I really just didn't like it either way, personally.
Bro,
yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it.
She grabbed his hand. She held his hand. Like,
I
guess
agree. I didn't like it.
I guess she's just thinking big picture. Well, he's still got the one finger that works, so
it's finally happening.
While I completely agree with you guys, I do actually love the reveal part of this ending and the start of the set of scenes. Like, since you think it's Rooker the whole time anyway, I love how after he kills Thelma, the camera turns to show Cheney dead on the ground next to her already. So at that point, I'm sure a lot of people were like, oh shit, okay, well, who is it? And I mean, yeah, it may have hit a little harder if it was someone we'd spent all movie with, and as a standalone, maybe. But coupled with all of these 90s crime thrillers and whodunits, it's kind of nice to me for it to be someone else. I mean, plus, man, damn, I kind of don't blame the dude. I mean, that line, I was a human toilet for 6 years.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Like, I would have gotten out and tried to kill the fucking guy, too. And the effects on Richard's hand when he pulls it from that bed, I mean, holy shit, such a great job. I mean, it's not an easy job to make an audience believe that someone without the use of their arms or legs could get the upper hand in a fight with someone trying to kill them. And by God, if they didn't do it, great job. I just think that the movie should have ended pretty much after that and not shown the little tag on that they had.
Yeah, so I kind of had the opposite take, which everything you said is very fair, Brian. But because I'm comparing it to these other crime dramas of the time, even a little bit after the fact, of like the killer reveal kind of being a twist or someone we spent time with, or not something that's too obvious like I thought Guess the Girls was, but just kind of someone like, who the hell is this? It just kind of felt like a random killer, and that's okay, but it's not. I would have preferred it be someone that we at least had seen a little bit more. But that's just me. But I do understand where you're coming from here. But I'm with you. I wish the film ended right here when they finally get him. They get the upper hand, and then that's just it. We had the same problem a couple weeks ago where it's like the movie should end here, but we're going to go another. This one not as long, but we're going to go another extended period of time. When I think you could have wrapped it up in a neat little bow. I don't need this. Look, cop friendship, cool. Working friendship, awesome. This unintentional, intentional love romantic angle, it's for the birds for me. Not in this kind of film. Not in my opinion. So that's all I had.
So I'll say the twist of Cheney getting killed was well done. They tried so hard to make him out to be the bad guy. So when we see him get out of the car, we assume that it's him. He's going in to do the dirty work, but it almost pisses me off that they swerved us because of how hard they sold it. Like, either don't make him such a dick earlier or have him be the killer. I don't know. But the twist itself was good. And then the twist that the actual killer was a cop trying to get back at Lincoln, that was a great one, but he kind of took an unnecessary path to me. Like, did he really need to plant all these murders with all these clues throughout the years? Like, he could have gotten to Lincoln at any time, especially after his accident. So it's kind of odd. Like, the whole movie, the whole premise, John Kramer is doing all these murders or these traps and games to teach people a lesson. He wasn't teaching anyone shit. He was trying to get Lincoln to catch him so he could kill him. I don't know. But a decently tense final showdown and a feel-good ending with him being reunited with his sister. I'll take it. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the killer's reveal either. Could have went a different route. All right, let's jump into our social media comments and questions. I'll do the Graham. I only got one comment. Hyped on Horror commented, I love this movie with the hands up emoji. I rewatched it recently for the first time in years and it still held up so well. I replied back, I agree. I think it holds up well as well. Brian, you got the Book of Faces, or Dusty, you got the old X pulled up?
I got X, artist formerly known as Twitter. Sean the Glee Man, the Poet Sloth, said, I remember enjoying this movie, but not a whole lot else about it. So hopefully you rewatch it because of this review. And then Andrew Ferguson said they did a short-lived TV show based on the movie a few years ago. And then he said Dana's DVD rack must be stocked full of psychological thrillers with cover art of the two main characters staring ominously into the void. Her fourth movie must be Don't Say a Word. And she said, yeah, it's not. Which it is funny, like the cover for this movie and the cover for Along Came a Spider.
Along Came a Spider is there, yeah.
So,
for sure.
And then, we won't announce her next pick yet. I don't think we've done that yet, but.
All right, Book of Faces. Cheyenne Turner, great movie. I miss 90s thrillers like this. Me too, Cheyenne. After watching this, I started reading the Lincoln Rhyme series. Don't know why they didn't make it a series, and even Paralyzed in a Bed, Denzel still nails it. Completely agree with you. Rhonda Chapman, The Bone Collector, is one of my favorite movies. Great pick, Rhonda. And top fan Meg Stone has a question for us. She said, the steam pipe kill. Love this movie. Some of the traps. Your guys' thoughts on the Falcon framing the whole thing and that last action sequence? I think we did kind of touch on all of our thoughts with the whole last action sequence. I thought everything was very well done.
Yep. I'm just not a big fan of who the killer is personally, but I thought the action was good.
I mean, as a standalone, I would probably agree with that. I guess just coupled with all of these movies, it was nice to kind of see something a little bit different and unexpected. That was my only take, but
I like this movie more than Kiss the Girls, but I like the reveal that Cary Elwes was the killer more because he had a bigger role. Like he played that Southern accent up, then he like dropped the disguise, and then like this guy was just working on the fucking machines all day, like all movie. Then he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to get you now." Like, yeah, okay. But now, Dustin, Brian, you got any fun facts? I don't have any.
I got a few. When Angelina Jolie read the script, she found that she couldn't put it down once she started reading it, saying, quote, "I was alone in my apartment and I was scared. It scared me to death. I couldn't stop reading it and I couldn't forget about it when I put it down, which says a lot about me. It kind of haunted me." Philip Noyce made a deal with the studio that if production went over budget, he'd pay the difference out of his own pocket. And if they came in under budget, he would get to keep half. It's a pretty good deal. I like that.
Yeah.
Demi Moore and Nicole Kidman were considered for the role of Amelia before Angelina Jolie was cast based on her work in George Wallace, 1997, and Gia, 1998. Universal Pictures sold half of the distribution rights to Columbia Pictures as the studio was worried about making its money back. It's a good vote of confidence there.
Yeah.
right.
Al Pacino was considered for the lead role, but decided to make The Insider 1999 with Michael Mann instead. I'm glad. I love Pacino, but
I'll take Denzel here for sure.
Denzel. And then Harrison Ford and Sean Connery were also both considered for the lead role.
How very 90s of you.
Sean Connery.
Yeah. Your mother likes a rough Trebek.
Your mother likes
To confuse, you already said the one about Rooker playing the mass killer in several scenes to throw us off. And then the last one that I have is Denzel Washington. He was in this movie called John Q.
Yep.
I don't know if you guys have seen that classic with the late great Ray Liotta, who was in Muppets from Space with David Arquette. Go ahead.
You took a few of mine. I would say at around 1 hour and 35 minutes, this kind of stuff just interests me. When Amelia jumps into the river to rescue the old man and his granddaughter, she was actually jumping into a heated pool, and they used a vegetable dye to give the water its appearance. If you kind of go back and watch that scene knowing that, it is a little bit obvious, but you would never know just watching it. And you mentioned Demi Moore and Nicole Kidman were considered for Angelina's role. I just got to say, I mean, yeah, I didn't really care for Angelina. She did all right, but I think, would have been a terrible choice.
Oh, man.
Oh,
I don't think Demi Moore is ever a terrible choice. Dude, Demi Moore in the mid to late 90s, that's one of the finest women to ever live. And Angelina is too.
Sure.
Demi Moore did something to me, boys. Go ahead.
Hey, Mike, before you go, brother, I got to say something about that Angelina jumping into a heated pool. You got soft hands, brother.
I won't
Jump into the real ocean.
You were worried. So, Dustin, you read the fact about them being worried about them making their money back. The movie was made for $48 million. Worldwide, $151 million. So, I think it did pretty well, all things considered. It was well received, but yeah, I mean, it's technically not a sequel, just movies within the same universe, and then the TV show that was mentioned by our listeners as well.
Yep.
$48 million for this movie? That blows my mind. Rent is high in NYC. Good night.
The cast is stellar in this movie. So
That's probably the big part of it.
I mean, Denzel, yeah, but were any of these other people like really, really big back then?
I mean,
I want you to respect Michael Rooker.
But
I mean, yeah, I get that.
Ed Bundy.
That's Merle. I get it.
It's Ed Bundy. He's fresh off of making Little Giants. He was demanding a huge paycheck.
I wasn't surprised seeing Michael Rooker hate Denzel, considering what I saw in the Walking Dead. But anyway, let's move on.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Let's jump into our favorite kill, least favorite kill in the rating. I'll just kick us off. Favorite kill. I don't want to say favorite, but most memorable, horrific kill. Definitely the rat's God Almighty in heaven. That one stuck with me forever. Just seeing that rat jumping at a guy who can't fight back. Lord, I can't think of a much worse ways to go, to be honest. Least favorite kill. I'm going to go with the grandpa. I think that maybe Dana's choice as well. But got to go with grandpa, just tied to the, high tide killed him. Hate to see it. That would be a horrible way to die too, but just considering the other ways these people have died, that one's the most tame. I think all of y'all have mentioned it. Just feels like that post TNT, whatever sporting event you watch, this movie comes on and you turn it on, or you flip the channels and you got like another hour left. So like, hell yeah, bro, let's watch Bone Collector. It's already on. Let's finish it. The acting is great. I personally do like Angelina Jolie in this. I think she did fine. It's one of the first roles I've ever seen her in. Denzel is always great. The whole cast is great. It's a fun crime thriller. Little underwhelming, like with the ending, personally. A lot of cliche, tropey kind of things as well. But I still give the movie an 8. I really enjoy it, and we'll watch it again in the future.
Okay. Let me go ahead and knock mine out then. Favorite kill for me, I guess. I didn't really have a favorite kill, least favorite kill until you went first and had them, so I'll throw them in there. I went with rat kill as well. And I guess least favorite kill would be the man in the open, because we didn't see what happened to him. Really, we just saw his face buried under the rocks. Or was that? Yeah, that's his face.
That was Denzel, right? Oh, the guy that he was going. I got you. The guy that he was, okay.
Yeah.
How the fuck did Denzel survive that, by the way?
Well, I guess I didn't even mean the guy in the open. I meant the first cat. The first cat killer death.
Okay. But still, how the fuck did Denzel survive? The man's got Chad Meeks plot armor. Good night. Go ahead.
He's Denzel. He's the fucking equalizer. You can't kill him. My rating, look, I like I said, I think this is a very standard crime thriller. It's very of its time. Felt like everyone was just cranking these movies out, trying to cash in because that's what's popular at the time. That doesn't make it a bad movie. We've likened it to Along Came a Spider, or Kiss the Girls. Sorry, we've likened it to Kiss the Girls multiple times on this show. So I'm just going to go ahead and give it the same score that I gave Kiss the Girls, 6.25.
Hey, Mike, let me go ahead so I can read Dana's.
Okay. Yep.
And then you can go, and then I'll go for mine if you want to.
Sounds good.
Dana didn't have a whole lot to say about this one like she did in Kiss the Girls. She just picked a steam pipe kill for her favorite kill, and her grandfather, or the grandfather, as her least favorite kill, like Nico said. And she gave this one actually a 7 out of 10.
Okay. I didn't really have a favorite and least favorite kill. I just know that I fucking hate mice and rats, so that kill can burn in hell. That gave me the skin crawlies there. Like I said in my open, I think this is a fine film. It is good. It never lost my attention. It's a good crime drama, just very dialogue heavy, kind of building and building and building to the end, just like Kiss the Girls and all those other films that are like it. Good detective work film. I think it's good, not great, but I would definitely watch it again, and I'm glad I watched it. So I would call this a good pick by Dana yet again. I give this movie a 7, which is ironic because the movie 7. So you're welcome.
Yes. My favorite was actually the steam pipe lady, Lindsay Rubin. I thought that had great effects on it. My least favorite kill, I would say Cheney, because we didn't see it happen, but Thelma, come on, Queen Latifah, you could have at least had her survive at the end when you were showing all this happy Christmas shit. My man can't be macking on Angelina Jolie with a nasty ass. I mean, come on, can't kill his nurse. Fuck. Anyway, I've said plenty. I like it. I give it an 8.5.
All right, that gives us a composite score of 7.35. Internet Movie Database has it at a 6.7. Rotten Tomatoes, 29%.
Damn.
Hey.
Grow up, Rotten Tomatoes.
I was
Grow
going to
up.
say, what are we doing?
Good night. All right, guys, any final thoughts on The Bone Collector before I just shout out our blood donors?
Nope.
I'm
Thank
good,
you, guys.
Yep, for sure. Shout out our blood donors, legendary blood donor Dana Tucker, 4 times. Boss. We got 2 more of her reviews to do. Camper Level Reoccurring, Nina,
Absolutely.
Horror Movie Crew Podcast, Alex Elligson, Steve Schmidt, and Michelle Mirza. Camp Counselor Reoccurring, Edwin Hernandez-Gunn, Joe Swinford, Adrian Aiello, Brian Samick, Andrew Ferguson, Brooke Maley, Thorne David Phillips, Heather Superduck, Jennifer Davison, Too Close to Home Pod, Dana Tucker, Cole McAlexander, and Max K. We really appreciate y'all. Y'all take a big, big burden of us. I can't stress that enough. We're doing another one of Dana's blood donor picks next week. God willing, the storm lets us, me and Brian, do the show next week. We're going to be doing, what's it called? Along Came a Spider. I almost forgot. We're going to be doing that one next week. Another crime thriller, Morgan Freeman. I'm excited. I really like Morgan Freeman. And I haven't seen it, so I'm excited to watch that one.
Sequel to Kiss the Girls.
Yeah.
Oh.
And one more thing, Sean Irwin, buddy, you were our most frequent blood donor for a while. Dana's taking the title. Get back in the mix, buddy. I'm just kidding.
Hey.
Whoa, relax.
I'm not forcing you to spend money, but I'm just saying.
Take it easy, buddy.
I mean, I'm sure he's ready to pick Killer Sofa or Llamageddon pretty soon. But we appreciate y'all listening. Y'all have a good one.
Why'd you do that?
Just want to remind everybody.